In this lesson, we're going to talk about organic modeling. Now, I'll begin by working in Max and setting up the image planes for Virtual Studio in Photoshop. And the first thing that I have done is find a turnaround pose of a character that I would like to model. And you have had the opportunity to create your own and your character designs. This one was gleaned off of Google, along with several others, of which I created JPEGs or Targas in a square format and brought into Max. Now, step number one, we want to make sure that we are using the correct unit setup. So we check, and I'm using feet with decimal inches, and we check it again here. 1 unit equals 1 foot. So when you're viewing these demos, you can accurately plug in the numbers that I have preset for you. So the first thing that we're going to do is create our image planes. The first thing that we're going to do is create our image planes and set up our Virtual Studio. Now, I prefer, there are a number of ways to do that by using the presets for image planes, or you can, and this was done in a different tutorial, or I simply prefer to use planar surfaces and manage them as geometry. So I will click F for front view, and I'm going to give myself a planar surface. It's going to be square. Now my character is going to be about 6 feet tall, so 6 and 72 inches. Plug in 72, 72, and then move tool and center that. Since we are working on characters and not objects that fit in a world, we can go ahead and model at 0, 0, 0 and not actually place our pivot point at ground level for the time being. So now that we have our planar surface, I'm going to open my material editor by clicking on the icon or M on the keyboard for material editor, and I'm going to go to my files, and I can simply drag those on. As you can see, I have done that already. So what we'll do is drag these onto the surface that's existing. Now, I have done some presets for you for male and female characters, and these you can Google, or Google any other type of character that you want and learn from those that have been posted. Or this one has a good render of a good rendition of the musculature of a male, but the arms are either foreshortened here or too short, so I'll have to keep that in mind as I'm modeling. And I've also pulled down this particular turnaround pose, which I think is a good one. The proportions are good, and it gives a side view, and you of course have had the opportunity to take the time and do a character design and a turnaround pose for your character design. So that's what we're loading in now. You just want to make sure that, back to Photoshop, that your characters have been centered on your file, and you are exporting a square file so that you have less to be concerned about with proportions when you load it in as an image plane in Max or Maya. Alright, so now that we have our image planes constructed, I've already set up the other ones for my scene. I have a number of front views that I'll be working from. I've chosen to put 3 different male figures in there and a female also. I'm using this side pose G for grid to turn that off, and I'm working with back poses that are the same models and the turnaround pose. Now, before I brought them in, I made sure that all of the height and proportions were accurate on a grid. Let's see, as you can see, I've pulled down a number of ruler markers to be able to make sure that things, the different parts of the anatomy fell at the same places as the turnarounds were tweaked into position. This particular one was in bad shape when I Googled it, and I had to do some tweaking to get it accurate, but I think it'll work out nicely for our demonstration. Now that we have our image planes in place, we can begin modeling, or we can continue setting up your virtual studio by putting in different cameras for you to reference as you are working, and different lighting. Many professional modelers have a file that they refer to which has a basic setup in it. Some get pretty elaborate, but it is very quick as you get your pipeline for working. As you establish that for speed and accuracy, you will also develop a common way of starting your models, which you'll want to, of course, build a library for. And when you do, another word about library, when you do begin to start creating your libraries, you'll want to make sure that you're modeling your characters' figures first, and then adding clothing and so forth. It'll help you to get believable clothing topology. And also, if you're modeling your base character's figure first, that is a great addition to your personal library, so that you can jumpstart your projects without having to work from scratch. It's a very powerful tool, the library, for modelers, so that you don't have to start from scratch, because starting from scratch and working forward, there's a lot of time involved in getting your topology correct. So many professional modelers have modeled their characters, and upon getting another model, a project, they simply go back and perfect the previous generic models and continue working with that, rather than starting from scratch every time. Of course, that's different for people who are doing fantasy characters, such as centaurs. You have the upper torso of male or female, and then the body of horse. But at the same time, if you're building a library, you can simply pull from your current library to be able to patch those characters' pieces together, rather than working from scratch.